Welcome to the Trusted Postgres channel. In this series, we will discuss the Ansible-based Postgres deployment tool called TPA. TPA stands for Trusted Postgres Architect, which can be used to quickly configure, provision, and deploy Postgres and the components that support its stack, bringing the amount of time to production from months to minutes. TPA can deploy Postgres on-prem, to the cloud, or to Docker containers. It can deploy very simple student installations of Postgres or very advanced, highly available multi-million-dollar production systems. In this series, we will only focus on deploying Postgres and its components to Docker containers. If you are unfamiliar with Ansible and Docker, now might be a good time to go through a few tutorials on how these tools work, but it is not necessary for you to be an expert in them before you get started using TPA. In this first episode, we will walk through where you can download Trusted Postgres Architect and how to install this completely open source tool freely available on GitHub. Since TPA is heavily dependent on Ansible, which is heavily dependent on Python 3, we need to first install PyEnv and its prerequisites. The first prerequisite I found missing in Ubuntu 24 was the libreadline dev library. So let's run the following command in a terminal. And please note, I have already set up a sudoer, a non-root user, so that we can run this without logging into root. Okay, now let's open a browser and navigate to trustedpostgres.com. And then down below the Trusted Postgres Architect section, click on the github.com link to go to Trusted Postgres in GitHub. And in this list here, we want to click on Docs, and then we'll go to SRC in this folder. And throughout the series, we will reference many of these markdown documents, and we will go through some of them, not all of them, since there are quite a few. But first, we want to go and click on the install-repo markdown document. So this first file, we want to look at not the quick start section quite yet. As I mentioned before, we want to install PyEnv. So we'll go ahead and click on that link, which will take us to that GitHub page. And then from here, we want to scroll down and click on the Getting PyEnv link. And then click under Linux, Unix, since we're on Ubuntu 24 in this series. Go ahead and click the Copy button here. Go to a terminal and paste that command in. Okay. Now we'll go back to the page here and scroll down until we get to the Set up your shell environment. Using bash here, we'll click the details arrow, and we will go through the first step here and copy this command, and this just instantiates the PyEnv environment configuration within our bash RC setup. Copy that. All right, so our PyEnv root is established in our bash RC file. And then, since I don't have a bash profile file to consider, I only need to go and copy this command to update my .profile file. So go here and paste that. All right. So now that the bash RC file and the profile file are both updated, go back to our instructions for setting up TPA. And from here, we'll copy out the install command for pyenv so that it downloads Python 3.9 back to the terminal. And from here, I like to open up a new terminal window so that those changes that we made to bash rc and the profile file take effect. So I'll paste the install command in here. This step can take a while, so go ahead and wait 2 or 3 minutes. Shouldn't take much longer than that. Alright, now that the install is complete for pyenv, we need to run the local command. Okay, now that's done. And the next thing we want to do, scroll back up to the quick start area and install some of our missing Ubuntu packages, which also include OpenVPN and Git. So we'll paste these in here. And say Y. Now with all of our Python dependencies ready to go, we're ready to move on to the clone and setup step. We'll go ahead and click this copy button over here. Paste it in right here, and it's going to create a TPA folder into which it's going to download all of our TPA source code. And again, this might take a few minutes to complete. Okay. And coming back here, we want to add the path to the TPA binary, which is called TPA exec, to our path. Now I'm going to do this in a couple of places. I'll just do that in the terminal here, but I'm also going to edit per the instructions the bash rc file to also include that command. Alright, and then from here I like to open up a separate terminal just to make sure everything's applied correctly. And we're on to running the TPA exec setup command. So I'll just copy this out, paste it into here. Some of these warnings you don't need to worry about. Essentially, it's downloading all of the Ansible dependencies since TPA is Ansible-based. Alright, so now that TPA has been set up, we want to go down here and run the self-test command. Make sure everything is working as expected before we actually get to the part where we provision and deploy our first cluster. Okay, this is what we want to see at the end here. Let's play recap. If you're familiar with Ansible, it's going to look very comforting to you since we want to see this okay. Thank you for watching. In the next episode, we will configure and provision our first TPA cluster on Docker. If you like what you see here, please like and subscribe to help grow the Trusted Postgres community here on YouTube. Also, if you are interested in being one of our customers or contractors, please register at trustedpostgres.com and we will be in touch as soon as possible to schedule your first engagement. Until next time, have a productive and peaceful day.